welcome to Retech, and you've probably been wondering why I haven't posted anything for about 2 weeks now. That's because for those of you who've been watching the news over the past few weeks, especially in parts of Europe and the UK, we've had a bit of a flu pandemic. We had the unseasonably cold weather followed by an outbreak of flu, and unfortunately I was one of those who actually got it. It's probably taken me, I think this is the 8th attempt at trying to do this monologue in one kind of go, because you know what it's like when you've got the flu, so I might sound a little bit different, but there you go. I normally do a bit of a seasonal themed video around this time of year, which I usually do about a week before the time, but unfortunately this time it never happened. But I will do something similar just to make up for it in the next few weeks. But I hope you enjoyed your festive season. I hope you got everything that you wanted, and I hope you enjoyed your time to yourselves if you're off work, etc. And I hope you have a great new year. Now, this is going to be a video that continues on with a video that I kind of started about 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to have a bit of a change of clothing, etc. halfway through this, and that's why. And again, it's a precursor to what's probably going to happen in the next few weeks, and that's what the video that I was meant to have finished and posted before now was going to cover. So today we're just going to do a little bit of a tidy up, run the video that I should have posted maybe a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to get back on track with the retro repairs and retro scene. And you know, it's just one of those things. It kind of sometimes takes a lot of time and effort to get to where you want to go, but you know, I hope it's worth it, and I hope you'll enjoy it, because there's lots more to come. I have to finish off, or rather continue, probably the best word, finish off with the clones, because I've got a few more to try and get hold of and build and test and see if they're any good, and then do my final thoughts on the entire clone situation, including some of the more well-known proposed clones and also the retro games clones that are out there, just to round everything up. But that should then close out the clone side of it for a while, at least until something else comes out. And as usual in this scene, something always does. But I intend to do probably a little bit more on the software side this coming year as well, because it kinds of get a little bit neglected now and again through a lot of the retro style and the retro channels. There's one that doesn't, but he's mainly aimed at PC, and that's LGR. But as for the retro scene, the kind of 8-bit, 16-bit and 32-bit scene, the software tends to get pushed on the back burner, so I want to try and change that, especially with new releases, etc. So anyway, I'm just going to tidy up a few things which I should have done over a week ago, and that is finally got the parts for the 16K ZX Spectrum, which I've been trying to get put back together and into one piece. Now that should only take a few minutes, so we're just going to do that now, and then we're going to move on to the rest of the video. So without kind of further ado, as somebody else says, as you may know, we're going to get right to it. Okay, so those of you who've seen this before, this is my little 16K ZX Spectrum, a genuine 16K Spectrum. So we're just going to take it out of the box and then just get the rest of the repair done to it. Okay, and we got as far as literally the front panel needed replacing, so did the membrane underneath, so we're just going to get rid of the rest of it here. Okay, this front panel is a bit battered. I think it was already, somebody had already had a go, if I remember right, of taking this apart before. So this is one for the bin, I'm afraid. It's a little bit too far gone. So yeah, this is how they go after a while. They just get a little bit kind of crusty, and where the bends are, they tend to crack and snap. So they're never the best. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the plastic case, and you can tell this is the 16K model because it has the little bodge across the CPU and also the blank 48K upgrade space, which is socketed on these, which is quite nice. So first off, always make sure that you're putting it in the right way by measuring up to the actual machine itself, and then there's not a lot to it. So this is just a quick put the machine together. So we'll move this to one side. Okay, and we have the new membrane in place. We're going to take this and we're going to fit the new faceplate after we put the keyboard back in place. So there we have a ZX Spectrum, which I'll be using with a Bluetooth dongle, mainly because it makes it much more convenient. And I have a genuine unmodified ZX Spectrum 16K. Now all of the other ZX Spectrums I've got that are 16K or started out life as 16K and now 48K, they were very quickly upgraded by their previous owners, because it soon became apparent that 99% of the software was aimed at 48K users after a very short time. So there we go, that's another job done, which should have been done before the new year, but you know, these things happen. So there we go, we have another working ZX Spectrum. In today's a very short video. It's more of a kind of a teaser of what's going to happen in the next couple of episodes. Now, in my episode with the Sinclair ZX Spectrum Plus 128 clone based on the Harlequin, you can see that I was waiting for a part, and I did kind of allude to a very special machine coming very shortly. Now, this machine is here. It is this big Atari ST, a very greyed, a very yellow, a very dirty Atari 1040 ST. And a lot of you followed on this channel for a while are going to say, well, you have a lot of Atari STs, which I do have. I use Atari STs for MIDI keyboards. I use Atari STs for, you know, general gaming. I use them quite a lot because they're one of my kind of favorite machines, really. They are very useful because of its MIDI interface, and the software that you can get for MIDI on these machines is basically second to none, or was second to none at the time that these machines were out, and also for a fair number of years after these machines actually went extinct, and they moved on, or people moved on to the PC era. Now, this machine, I kind of had to get it very quickly, which is why there's been a little bit of a gap since my last video. And obviously anybody who's been following the weather in the UK over the last few weeks, sort of the mid to late December, will know that we've had a bit of a cold weather situation here. Now, it's been about -7 to -9 most nights where I am at the moment, in East Anglia and Cambridgeshire, and that's kind of messed up collecting things, and you know, the roads have been a bit on the treacherous side at times and so on. But when this machine came up, I couldn't hang about. I decided, right, we're going to jump in the car, I'm going to go and get this machine, I'm going to drive 2.5 hours or so to go and pick this machine up, and then another 2.5 hours back. It didn't really matter about the weather, and I kind of just went ahead and did it. It was quite a slow drive at times through freezing fog, treacherous ice, very low temperatures and so on, but it was worth it, because this machine here is something you don't come across all the time. This machine belonged to a very well-known group, or a very well-known person of a group in the UK, so it's a very well-known British group, and it was used for producing music as a MIDI controller, and for plugging keyboards, etc., and whatever instrument you needed to do into the Atari ST. And that gives you an idea of how good the Atari ST was at its job as a MIDI system, and this machine really did find a niche as that kind of system, because the timings on this machine are impeccable for music. It's one of those machines where it shouldn't have been that good, but it was, and it was taken to heart by a lot of professionals at the time, and a lot of them hung on to them and still use them today. Now, this machine was going to be scrapped. It was saved by this person's son, who his mum decided that it was time for all of this to go, and started getting rid of all of the old equipment such as this, and this was literally saved from going in the bin, being scrapped. So this is all he could save apart from the monitor. So I've got this machine and the monitor, and I don't know if they work, and I'm in a bit of a quandary as to whether I do a restoration on these, regardless if they work or not. Either get them working, get them functioning, and keep them for kind of history purposes, because even this machine in its floppy disk drive has a copy of Cubase in there, which means that up until it was kind of put away, it was being used for what it was bought for or intended to be used for. Now, do I go down the route of making this machine look like brand new? Do I replace as many parts as this machine's needed to get it running? Do I clean it to almost factory new and get the case and the plastics looking to factory new, which is something I feel that personally we should do, but it kind of rules out retro brighting, because retro brighting's a bit of a misnomer. It's a bit of a fallacy, really, because all you're doing is bleaching the plastics and it comes back again, and it also takes away some of the integrity of the plastics, and they start becoming brittle. And Atari STs, along with Commodore Amigas, are known to become very, very brittle through time. Do I seal out the elements from this machine and make it look like a new machine again, but with a coating so the elements cannot get at the plastic and degrade it any further? But I will have to preserve its history, including who this machine actually belonged to, where it was bought, where it was serviced and repaired, and it's all on that label on there, and that's its kind of provenance. It's proof that this machine belonged to something or someone a little different. Now, a lot of people out there will probably say leave it as it is, get it working, leave it as it is, leave it with all the patina on it, but it's going to degrade. And this machine was obviously stored somewhere cooler, cold, because it hasn't gone as brittle as a lot of these machines were going, where they were stored in fairly warm conditions, kind of semi-tropical, in cupboards, in warm attics and all that kind of thing. It was almost certainly stored somewhere cold. So that's probably done it a massive favour. But I feel like I need to stop it from degrading. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm sure there's going to be a few more comments underneath about what you would do, and I'll kind of go from there, and I'll take any advice that's put down in the comments, okay? Because at the end of the day, you know, nobody knows if retrobrighting, well, they kind of do, because there's been a lot of scientific studies on retrobrighting and its effects, but nobody knows long term whether sealing out the elements is going to be better than retrobrighting. Common sense says yes, because anything that's been sealed and it doesn't have the elements getting to the actual physical object, the plastics, etc., do fare better. You know, just look at a car, for example, or anything that's been painted, or anything that's been clear coated and varnished and so on. They do fare much better. It's just a little bit of common sense has to come into it. But, you know, any advice would be brilliant. But this machine doesn't have a mouse, didn't come with any cables, it didn't come with anything else but the machine. And the son of this person said that, you know, all of the other equipment, such as the retro, or now retro keyboards and all the kind of thing, were kind of junked a long time ago. So I'm quite lucky that I have some period keyboards, so I can put this back to the way it was, or where I think it was, with the period equipment attached to it. And that's my plan. I just want to do that eventually, after it being used for, you know, myself and children and anyone who wants to kind of have a go at producing music on a retro platform. I'm in two minds as to what to do with it. Really, I want it to be used, so I would like it to go to, eventually, to a museum, but I would like it to eventually be either permanently on display, if possible, or used, not put in a storeroom, forgotten about until all of its kind of provenance is erased off the machine through just being in the cold and the damp and where these machines are generally stored, and then just try it as another Atari 1040 ST and either stripped for parts or sold on and so on. So I really kind of don't want that. So, but I would like it to go to somewhere locals or localish, so it can be used. So that's the plan, okay? That's a little bit further down the line, once this machine's had some use with myself and children and so on, and demonstrated and used, and maybe produce some music on it for this channel as well, because I do have original copies of Steinberg and Cubase, and what else have I got? I've got rhythm and quartets, and I've got lots of original Atari software and MIDI software to go with this machine. So that's where I am with this. That's where I'm going to kind of leave it here for kind of your thoughts on it. And it would be nice to see this machine back up and running in its former glory. As I said, I don't know if it works. I don't know what condition it's in. I don't know what condition the monitor's in. I haven't even switched that on yet. So we're going to do that in the next episode. Okay. So anyway, thanks for watching. I look forward to your comments, and I look forward to your ideas, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks a lot. Thank you.